It's no fun when our kids are sick, but we may just have found the silver lining. Apple and raspberry and orange-flavoured electrolyte slushies made by Rehydrate.
Rehydrate slushies are a tasty way to get essential electrolytes into our little ones when they're dehydrated from sickness or even just the Aussie heat. They're delicious and they'll help your little ones feel better in no time. Grab Rehydrate from Coles today.
It's the Happy Families podcast with Dr. Justin Coulson. It's the podcast for the time-poor parent who just wants answers now. We are Luke and Susie. We're a husband and wife radio team. We have 3 young boys, and today we are talking about this time of respite that we're being given as a part of COVID-19, the response that we're making as a nation. How do we navigate this? Will it actually be respite in our homes? How can we make sure it's a good time? Isn't it interesting? I like it when we have conversations about stuff, Luke, because you have such a different perspective to me. And we were just talking about the opportunity that the current circumstance has given people, a lot of people working from home now. I look at that and I think they're going to find out how efficient they can be because they're not being interrupted by workmates all day through the casual conversation, not having necessarily the same breaks or stopping for birthday cake or, having to travel to and from work. Yeah. And suddenly that frees up all of this time in the day that would otherwise be invested in the office. What do you do with that at home? How brilliant. You look at it and go, but now there's no space.
Yeah, and this lack of respite. And, the interesting thing is, because it's not from my own personal feelings that makes me aware of the lack of respite and the always having children in your space, it's from you.
Oh.
It's that how difficult it is for you to switch off. The time I see you switch off is when the children are at school, and whether you're working, whether you're doing something else, that's your you time, which you so desperately need to stay in balance.
And your guarantee that you give us as a parenting expert is that we will be a happy family. I mean, you say it right there in the website, happyfamilies.com.au. Dr. Justin Coulson. Are our families going to be happy through this time?
They can be. I'm feeling a little bit of pressure now. My eyes just went wide as saucers as you put that on me.
I was pointing at the time, so it does make it more intimidating.
Feeling a little bit threatened here. They can be, but it really comes down to how we're going to set our expectations and boundaries and what we can do with our children. Now, the reality is, as we spend more time at home, which is being required of many more of us now, and who knows, in the future it might become even more required of us. As we spend more time, we have a tremendous opportunity, if we embrace it, to connect and develop our family in ways that we usually just don't have time to do. I think this is a wonderful, extraordinarily good opportunity. Of course, anyone who runs a small business from home or who is now being told by their major employer to work from home is going, are you nuts? How am I going to do this? This is insane. So I've got a couple of ideas that might be useful.
Great.
Well, and a couple of ideas that won't be useful at all. That's good. All right.
Every family.
Let's start with the helpful ones.
Every family is different. The first one that I'm actually going to recommend is that we relax the tech rules. Normally in our homes, we've got this thing about, and every parent does it differently, but most parents recognise that too much technology is not going to be a good thing, and we want to reduce the amount of tech that our children are exposed to because, screens and square eyes and all that kind of stuff. Plus, they're not outside, they're not being active, and that's bad for their health. All that still remains true. The reality is, though, that we just have to get stuff done sometimes, and that might mean that we have to say to the kids, you get some extended screen time today. You can watch that movie, or you can do a bit of extra schoolwork. There's all these education software programs that the children usually use as part of their schooling anyway.
And enjoy.
And they really do like the games, especially if they're in primary school. High school, perhaps not quite so much. But let's let them actually go and do that. I did see a meme that was posted that made me laugh. It was completely inappropriate, but gee, it made me laugh. The mum is sitting at her computer. She's obviously working from home. She's got the headphones on and just staring at the screen. And on the floor behind her on a mattress, she's got her 3 children. They're laying down. Their hands are tied in front of them and they've got some cloth in their mouth so they can't make any noise. Obviously, I'm not recommending that. That's one of the bad ideas. But sometimes as parents, we feel like that. Like, can you all I'd like to lock you in the room and just not listen to you for an hour so I can get this work done.
Well, this is it, because it feels like it's now that experience that we have as parents is going to be exacerbated. So the normal experience is if you're not doing anything important, the children are fine. But as soon as you pick up the phone to make a phone call, they all need you immediately.
Urgently.
And so that's kind of, I guess, the thought going in is how are we going to navigate it if I've got important work to do, but the children are constantly going to interrupt because we're there and they want to be with us.
So this is my next big idea. I think that we should work in sprints. When we're working at home with children, we need to recognise we're not going to get 2 hours or 4 hours or 6 hours of uninterrupted time to blast through all of the productivity things that we need to do. So working in sprints means that we go and spend some time with the kids for 15 minutes. And then we say, all right, guys, for the next 30 minutes or the next 45 minutes, I'm going to be engrossed in this task. What are you going to be doing? And we work in these 15 on, 45 off. Oh, sorry, 15 off, 45 on.
Yeah.
And there's a handful of other ways that we can manage this as well. We might decide that 15 is not enough. We need to do 30 with the children. It depends on their age and their capacity. Have a jar with activities that they can do while you're busy, so that they're not going to be, I'm bored, this is not fair. Give them a sense of autonomy. Let them choose what they'll do. When you're taking that break, go for a walk with them. If you're fortunate enough to live in an area where it's warm enough and you have a swimming pool, go for a swim. Go throw a ball with the children or kick a ball or go for a little bike ride. Do something where you're actually being active and physical with them. Have a wrestle on the floor, read them a story, go and bake some muffins. Just do something to reduce the pressure on you and on them. When they're engaged, then you can get back to work. And you set the boundary as well. This is the other critical thing. Okay, I've spent that time with you, but I'm spending the time with you now because I've got to go do some work shortly. Let's set the oven timer. Let's set the timer on the iPad. Let's look at the clock. When the clock hand gets to there, that's when we're going to do our next activity. Let's work out what it's going to be. Dive into the jar, pull out the activity. Okay, we're doing that in 45 minutes. We're doing that in an hour and a half. We're doing that in 26 minutes, depending on the attention span of your children. And that gives them something to look forward to. They also now know that they've only got to occupy themselves until such and such a time before I get time with mum or dad again.
So this might take for us at the end of our work day and when the kids have gone to bed and the day's all settled and we finally got that time, taking maybe 15 minutes to actually think about what have I got to do work-wise tomorrow and how can I split it up so that I get everything I need to get done. And also, what's a great cake recipe that takes 10 minutes in preparation and cooks for 45 minutes so that we can do that as a process across the day. And at afternoon tea time comes, we've got a freshly baked cake that we've, prepped in one break, got out of the oven in the next break and iced in the break
Susie
after that.
Cake. You had Susie at cake.
I've got it in my head how I'm going to do this. But that prep time, I think, is going to be important for us, right?
Yeah, and it doesn't. Listening to you, I'm starting to feel burdened as a parent. I'm like, oh no, I've got to do something else, and I just want to get the kids to bed and be a human for a minute, because sometimes it doesn't feel like we are humans when we're parents. It's almost like they're mutually exclusive propositions. The great thing is, though, you probably only need to come up with, let's say, 4 activities a day. And like you said, one of them can be baking a treat. Another one could be something physical. Another one might, you decide, you work it out. But the cool thing about this is you don't have to come up with new things every day. If the children are enjoying what you're doing, don't reinvent the wheel. Do it again tomorrow, or come up with 2 or 3 that you can rotate through every second or third day. The main thing is we do need to be a bit proactive. A little bit of prior preparation prevents a lousy day at work, a lousy day in the office. It prevents poor performance for our family. So, but I reckon 10 minutes and have a chat with the children about it, and don't make it a big deal. Make it really simple. Put it up on the whiteboard or put it up on the fridge or on your cork board or wherever it is that you write these things. That way it's already planned. You know what you're doing, and the children will get used to the change. They will settle into the new groove. They will learn to occupy themselves.
And we need to give them some credit as well. Our children actually already have a routine that they are familiar with. They have a school timetable they're running to every day, and they, I don't know, I think there's some scope in there that actually will allow them to be it does depend on their age, I get that. But they're good little self-learners. They're excited learners when they're young. And when they're old enough to go down the street by themselves for 10 minutes.
Sure. It depends on the age of the child. 5-year-olds, you're going to have to do a lot more prep work, a lot more legwork, and expect a lot more interruptions. We've got to balance our expectations appropriately. We can't expect our children to act like adults because they're children. So let's remember that. Other than that, though, I really think if we can put our technology down and give them good quality time, we're going to have better outcomes. So put the phone away, concentrate on the kids, at least in those
stints.
And then do another sprint at work. And you've got to be efficient because you've only got that little bit of time. So dive in.
Great. Awesome.
Well, plenty to think about and just to relax and give ourselves the ability. And just on a side note, we've had productivity experts in the show who probably, even without children, tell us to do things like 45 minutes or 50 minutes on, then go and take a break.
Excited.
And then come back. And they reckon you're more productive when you regularly take that little snapshot of a break from what you're doing. So
it's amazing. I should take up some consultancy.
Yeah.
Isn't that kind of, in a sense, what you do? Just
Okay.
Dr. Justin Coulson, our guest, thank you so much.
If you've enjoyed the podcast, we'd love for you to leave a review like this one from Dee Minzy, who said, "This is a great podcast for overwhelmed modern parents. Each ep isn't too long, succinct enough. You can listen to one on the school run. It offers sensible, helpful and practical advice you can put into action immediately." You can find more resources at the website happyfamilies.com.au.